Welcome back, family and friends. This is 10 o'clock Scholar, and I hope you don't think I'm coming on 10 o'clock in the evening. No, that's the name of the program, not the time I come on. I come on when I feel like coming on. I don't have a schedule because I rotate with the rhythm of the universe, and time serves me. I don't serve time. And you should do likewise. I was watching a program. I don't really watch nothing on TV. I just uh, flip the channels and see what's on. And I came across this doctor. Matter of fact, it's on now. Dr. Phil and this frustrated so-called black woman, and her frustration is about the inability to get into medical school. And I listened to everybody speak for a little minute, and it dawned on me, yeah, we need to have our own, as a community, so-called black people, we need to have our own schools, like before they closed them all down. We had our own schools at one time. Medical schools, all that was closed down uh, was it Roosevelt? No, Rockefeller. When Rockefeller took over the medical center, the medical schools, because he was a oil magnate, and he saw the opportunity of changing medicine into plastics. In other words, got rid of all of the natural healing methods and the plastic. That come from oil, don't you? Those plastic they put on the medicine. They come from oil, right? Yeah, that was his vision, to somehow make millions off of the medical field by having people eat plastic, oil-made tablets. It's amazing. So as I listened just a few minutes, it was very clear to me what's going on, because the people in the establishment, you call so-called whites, they have no clue what's going on. In other words, you've heard of the 5 stages of grief, right? The first stage is denial. I think that's anger, bargaining, uh, another stage, and then acceptance. Most Americans have not got at the first stage. What's being said is that you all cannot face the fact that there's been great wrong done to so-called black people in this country. You refuse to face that fact. That's why you haven't remedied it. Because you're in denial. And if you ever came out of denial, man, there might be some hope for y'all. But as long as you're in denial, this is the greatest country. Even they got a reverend, call him reverend because he sounds like a reverend. Dr. Carlson was on there, enabling them in denial. Couldn't say, look, y'all, a great wrong has been done and continue to be done against us as a people, well, so-called black people. I keep saying so-called because you don't know what they're going to call you tomorrow or what they call you yesterday. Whatever they call you keeps you separated from your ancestry, your history. So you become confused as a people because they're hiding your history from you by calling you all these labels, Negro, colored, black. But when you find out who you are, then you have solved your problem. So the whole idea is to keep you from finding out who you are. Now, first stage in the in those recovering from grief, and yeah, America is grieving because you cannot commit hundreds of years of autocracies on the people and not be in grief. You cannot say you are okay with that. The sins of the parents are passed down to the children, to the third and fourth generation. So your children are born in grief. They didn't do it, but they paying for it. And the first stage of overcoming that grief is acknowledging what happened. And in my lifetime, they have never acknowledged what happened. Because if you acknowledge a wrong was done, that means you have to start providing remedies and solutions. There have never been any meaningful solutions. Forcing people out of their communities where they're not accepted into is not a is not that's a road to disaster. Forcing people to accept your money when they don't accept you, that's roads to disaster. So I'm not gonna say people are a lost cause, but you have to find some way to acknowledge what happened, did happen, the worst crimes in the history of man. And it didn't happen like you said it happened. No, we didn't come from no Africa. You didn't bring us. We was here before you came. Our ancestors from Africa long, long before. And you just shipped us from the north to the south. They call it ship you down river and enslaved us. You know the movie 12 Years a Slave? That's what happened, y'all. Don't let them say this Africa story. The reason why they say you back to Africa story or you come from Africa story is so that they can take the land and say, well, the land is ours because they from Africa. I mean, it's amazing how much denial the people are in. And I'm just talking about white people, black people in denial as well. So you both are not being going to be healed until you face the truth. Even the so-called black history is not the real history. Let me ask you a question. Who are the best athletes in America? For that matter, in the world? Who are the best sports people, sports players? The unbeaten records holders. Okay? Who is the men that it takes 10 or 5 or 10 men to control one? Who are the men that are so feared they're shot from behind? You got it. So, okay, no, here's another one. Who's the man who was such a fierce fighter during the wars that he has a reputation that equals no one? Yeah, I'm talking about the so-called black people in America. They got the records of fearlessness in battle. Great warriors. Okay, you got that? Now, you say these same great fighters were whipped, was whipped by a man who was much weaker than it, who was not their equal. See, that didn't happen like that. No. They was whipped. They was everything they say happened to us happened to them. So the history has been changed to make it look like we lost. No, they lost. We were so feared, they say, well, y'all got so much power in population, we know if you vote, we lose. That's what voting all about. Voting was give us charge of the cities and the counties. So that's why those didn't want voting. That's why they had the three-fifths property rule, so you couldn't be counted one-on-one with whites because you was the dominant population. I'm just going through this to let you know that this country has been in denial for hundreds of years. All people, black and white, because you've been miseducated. The education system keep you dumb, and you always be in a stage of grief until you acknowledge the truth of what happened. By you being in denial and passing that fear on to your children and your children's children, you remain a sick people. Yeah, a sick people. We be sick, yeah. Everybody in America is sick. Black people for participating and not having something for themselves, seeing that this integration thing never worked, never was designed to work. And white folks who continue to take advantage of the disadvantage they have caused these people, into this sickness. So that's what I had to say. That's what the Spirit told me to say it. And it took me about 13 minutes to say it. So go back and listen 2 or 3 times to get the idea of what's being said. Thanks again. Till next time.